Yeah.
Everybody can move that place.
Until somebody moves
never
it, I
on
can
me.
change.
believe it's a positive.
Where does it say application?
Well, that's what that section was.
Oh, you said for completing the application.
Yeah, review of the application.
Mm.
That's policy, that's something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so we're referring, it wasn't an ordinance, we referred to an ordinance, that was something else.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the San Juan Bautista City Planning Commission. The time is 6 o'clock. I call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda. Is there any commissioner who would like to make any comments on the agenda? Or should we go with it as is?
She didn't put roll call.
Good point. Let's see if we have enough people here to have a meeting. Staff, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mandy Guibert.
Here.
Georgiana Galarte.
Here.
Pat Harris.
Here.
Ernest Franco.
Okay.
David Maderas.
Excuse. Okay, we do have a forum for a meeting. Now let's talk about the agenda. Commissioners, is there anything you want up, on, off, or in between?
No. I liked it.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Now comes the time we call public comments. Any person who would like to speak to the commission on an item not on the agenda, now would be the good time to talk about it. If it's on the agenda, please wait until that item comes up and then put your comments so that they'll all be maybe packaged as a single item. But now would be the time that anything else, we will not get into dialogue with you, but you can tell us anything you want, and if it's something we want to agendize, we'll do that. It should go to staff. We'll make that recommendation.
I have a speaker card.
Okay.
Larry Gerber.
I'll wait until the item, it's a discussion item that's coming up regarding the sign code. I'll wait until then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I see no one has any comments. We'll run to informal project review. Any potential or future project applicant may present his project to the Commission during informal project review for the purpose of obtaining information as preliminary feedback only. There's no fee involved, no formal application. Give us an idea of what you'd like to do. We'll toss some ideas back. Then you can decide whether you want to make a formal application. Do you have anybody in favor of that? There being none, we'll go to the next item. We have a public hearing. Minor subdivision at 901 3rd Street, the minor sub 2013-91. The property is zoned medium density, R2, and the Planning Commission will consider approval of a tentative map. Now, the format of a hearing here is we'll have the agenda. I've read the item from the agenda, and I will acknowledge the fact that we do have a documentation that a public notice was put up and in appropriate time, and therefore the public has been notified that this action will take place. Now, we'd like to hear from the applicant as to what he or she is proposing.
Well, perhaps maybe we should have the staff report first and then the applicant. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a staff presentation.
You can give you the background, yeah. And I'll turn it over to Matt. Matt has kind of done the staff report, and I'll let him take and give you a quick review of it. Yes.
Mr. Chair, council members, good evening. So the applicant has submitted a tentative map and is requesting to subdivide a parcel of 14,000 feet roughly into two lots, consisting one of them 7199 square feet and the other 6990 square feet. And this is at 903 3rd Street. The site is located in an R2 medium density zone and contains currently a small family home as well as an existing shed in that backyard. And so kind of over time, Roger and I have been working with the applicant, trying to figure out what would be the best fit for the city. We've kind of gone back and forth and been working with them, and they've kind of decided to subdivide the lot and basically produce a single-family home on there, and it's consistent with our general plan going through. Roger and I have kind of listed all of the findings in the staff report. It's going to be promoting infill development because currently right now the lot is underutilized, as well as the existing neighborhood. The lot next door is single family, and we feel that this project would be conforming to the area and would be an infill development. With that said, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, received all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and approve the minor subdivision subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution.
What's the new lot size for it?
It's 7,000, or excuse me, for R2, it's 8,000 square feet.
So both lots are meeting minimum zoning requirements.
Exactly.
Okay, following the staff presentation, is the applicant present?
Yes, sir.
Will you come forward, please? Identify yourself for the record and tell us.
My name's Craig Clower. I'm the applicant. I was supposed to have a representative from the engineering firm here to answer most of your questions. I will do the best I can if you have anything. Basically, Matt did an excellent job. We want to split that in half and have the remainder lot, which will be vacant, and the existing house will stay there with the barn located in the back.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, thank you.
And then just to give you a background, Greg has been working with the owner, and at first we wanted to make it a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, and to meet that minimum 8,000 square foot, it results in developing an existing home substandard, and there's only 14,000 square feet in the total parcel. So then we backed it down and says, well, what's an R2? And it's an R2 is an 8,000. And so we tried to balance the thing off, and we relied to say the best thing to do is split it in half. And so we've got two lots that are substantially conforming to the minimum R1 category, and the layout that he has developed, it's big enough to where it could develop to where it would have a secondary unit. So it would be like a duet, and that would be promoting affordable housing. So the single family with the potential for a granny flat secondary unit would meet a lot of our objectives in our general plan for affordable housing as well as infilling. So
This is how our general plan gets built out.
Yes.
People like yourself, putting those two units in there, like Roger said, it meets our requirements for affordable housing in general, more opportunities for young people to get in. So that's a public service.
Thank you. We did try really hard to get 3 to 4 units in there, and with the parking requirements, it just was not going to work. So we had to back off and put a single family there. But like Roger said, we may be able to put a granny unit in the back at some time.
That'd be good.
Thank you.
Your engineer arrived.
Great.
Okay, following the applicant's presentation, we'll have oral comments. Does anyone would like to speak on this item for or against? No public comments. Are there any written public comments that came in, staff?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Nothing on that one? Okay, response by staff to public comments. That looks like an easy one. Planning commissioners, what have we got?
Did we want to hear from the engineer at all?
Well, let's see what
Did he
we've
come?
got first.
Okay.
Is he here?
He is.
He finally arrived.
Oh, to the applicant, would you like to have your engineer speak?
Do we have any questions for him?
Well, let's bring him up and find out.
Hi, I'm Alan Andred of MH Engineering. Sorry I was late and missed a bit of the discussion there prior, and I'd like to make myself available on Mr. Clower's behalf. Any questions you may have from an engineering aspect or development aspect.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, we've got a large lot to be split. Conditions of approval, there's quite a few of them, but they do include curb gutter and sidewalk. Curb cut's appropriate for the parking or to access to the lot. I think that's one of the ones that was really concerned to me, because we're going to be working on the rest of them. The curb guttering side, the curb and gutter will be vertical face, and that's good. This is an all-around, I think the application is put together well, the staff is reported well, and I think we could go with it.
What is AC parking?
AC is asphalt concrete.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I walk by there every day, drive by there. Is there a street light there? And if not, will they need to install one?
There's an existing one on the pole,
Okay.
but it's a pole-mounted one, and it's not a street light electrolier, you know.
It's not our regular.
It's on the telephone pole, yeah.
Telephone pole,
Okay.
yeah.
Do we want to,
We've got street trees coming in too.
yeah. So the lighting, you think, is adequate?
I don't see a problem.
Okay.
The
I like-
lighting is for the intersection. So there's a light there.
Safety lighting, yes.
Yeah. I like the fact that we're not adding a driveway on Monterey Street, because that'd be difficult with traffic.
That too.
That's all I...
We're not having a planter strip on Monterey Drive?
Yeah, I looked at it, and from the standpoint, I like the monolithic of moving the sidewalk adjacent to the vertical face. I don't have tree root problems of lifting up sidewalks, and the trees will be behind that. And from the standpoint of city's liability, it's much better in the long run.
And then they're going to plant a couple, 2 or 3 trees down at Monterey
Yeah.
Drive?
Yeah.
On Monterey.
On Monterey. And then one on
City approved.
1/3, yeah.
By city approved, I
You don't
really believe we have a list.
Yeah, we have a
We
list.
actually
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
list
Yeah.
that we worked on for so many years.
Yes, yeah.
People can come and look at it.
Yeah, and we make that available to the people, yeah.
Dust is always an issue with construction, and we have that covered also in condition 13. Oh, that's right, the handicap ramp. That's what was missing on that corner.
Right, they're going to put,
Get that too.
Put that-
and they're going to put that in.
And the neighborhood across Church Street is already multiple. So having granny units and so forth and
Oh, that's good.
more residences in this area, it's consistent with the neighborhood, as I see it.
Okay.
Before you consider any approval, you have to satisfy CEQA. Yes.
Okay. The California Environmental Quality Act requires that we make sure that this project does not have any significant impacts to the environment. The staff advises us that we're found to be categorically exempt under CEQA, minor land divisions, infill development, and supporting general plan goals and policies are below. The lot conforms to the adjacent lot size residential development. Lot division conforms to the goal of small town character and development of underutilized property. The lot division conforms to the goal of development paying its fair share of the cost of expansion of public facilities, and water, sewer, and storm drain there. Public services available to serve the property, and that's most important when you do a development project, whether it's 1 or 100. You have to have the water, sewer, storm drainage, schools, parks, whatever. The lot division encourages small residential projects. That's one of our policies. Provides adequate off-street parking. We talked about that. Conforms to the bicycle, pedestrian, and equestrian facilities. and also meets the objectives of housing opportunities of the general plan for residential infill, and our goal is to minimize the processing and approval delays for new residential projects that are consistent with the general plan's goals. So we want to get this thing, they're ready to go, we don't want to stop them. So based on this, they do meet the California Environmental Quality Act provisions, and so then it would just be a matter of, let's see, we'll get to the resolution afterwards. Do you have any other comments on environmental quality? Okay. Staff has drafted a resolution for us. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a tentative map of the property at Town of 1 3rd Street. And before I do that, let's see. Anybody in the public have any comments on what they've heard so far?
That's an action.
No comments. Good. We're not looking for more testimony.
It's fine.
Okay, we'll close this public hearing. And since we don't have discussion, let me go through this resolution. Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on October 1 on the Clower Manning subdivision. Planning Commission received oral and written comments. Well, actually we did, but we let them know we'll be here. And staff notified property owners within 300 feet of the project boundaries. And the Planning Commission reviewed the staff report and categorical exemptions. And based upon the information received at the public hearing, and in light of the whole record before the Planning Commission and the conditions of approval on the secret findings, therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista hereby approves a tentative map with conditions of approval as outlined in the attached staff report dated October 1, 2013 and made a part hereto. I'll call for a motion on that resolution.
And what number is it going to be?
2013-08.
There being no motion,
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution PC 2013-08.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Very good, sir. Thank you. Okay, what's next on the agenda then? Okay, we, action items to approve the affidavit of posting agenda through the public hearing notice, through the minutes of July 2.
I'll make a motion that we
Through the first three.
accept the first three and discuss D separately.
Good.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
D, General Plan Advisory Committee recommendations. The City Council has let a contract with the students at the University at Cal Poly for them to work with their instructor, and these are master level, to prepare an update of our general plan. Now the students are going to handle the whole thing, but you cannot do this without citizen input from the people who are going to be governed, basically. So we have to put together a general plan advisory committee. Staff has prepared a list of people, they've been talking about it already, but a list of people who would serve. The other thing about having something like this is it has to represent the community. And by that we're talking about public agencies, public utility companies, community groups, general public, and all economic groups. All those stakeholders have to be represented, and that's by state law. So then, in our discussions, we're looking at community and neighborhood groups. Usually if the neighborhood is on one end of town or the other, or wherever, they have feelings about how the community should go. Utility and public service providers, if you're going to plan major growth, the utility company is ready to provide the services. Educational institutions, that's probably, if you're going to do a major expansion, you have schools for that. Industry and business, they're a big part of the community. Civic and communities and service organizations, a lot of the people who are affected by the general plan belong to civic and community organizations. A lot of these groups have their own fine points of interest. So what you do is you grab somebody who represents that group and will go back and speak to them and say, my organization says this and comments on your proposal. Religious communities. In this case, there's a lot of folks who are concerned about what goes in their town. In this case, we happen to have a mission, which is the reason you have a city here at all. So they should be a stakeholder. They're our stakeholder. Other public agencies. And you look at community interests, environmentalists, developers, elderly, youth, lower-income residents, special needs populations. And among your special agencies are, you have a cemetery district, big enough to accommodate that. The Historical Society, the whole key to what's ever happened here. A very strong city for veterans, and its auxiliary, Rotary, San Juan Committee. These are all people that when you put them together in the aggregate, they are the city. So I'm going to ask the staff to make a staff report, and then we'll see where we want to go from there. Staff, let's see.
Mr. Chair, thank you for that introduction. I think you've covered most of the points that I was going to speak of.
Did I do that to you?
No, that's fine. But yeah, so thus far we've kind of put together a list of those interested members from different backgrounds, some of them that you have listed. And in the staff report, you can see there's a list. And Mr. Chairman was emailing me earlier to kind of get more explanation of who are these members tied to. So right now I can go through and kind of give the background just to update the staff report that you have in front of you. So far the interested persons are Bev, and she's a San Benito County Chamber representative. I guess it's Meamber? Meamber.
Can you also indicate if they live in San Juan, or is that?
Yes.
She does. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Then we
Okay.
can.
They would primarily be around San Juan or the immediate vicinity, because it would cover our sphere of influence.
Okay.
And
So
there.
not necessarily Hollister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I interject? I think in looking a little further after you and I spoke that she might be with the Community Foundation for San Benito County and not the chamber.
Or both.
She has excellent credentials.
Do you want comments from the commissioners as they hear names, or just for us to be quiet and listen?
What's your preference? You can go through the fact, and then we can start talking about who's missing. Because we have a lot of categories here, the ones that I've mentioned, and so we'd be looking to see who's already volunteering, basically. But feel free to make a comment. This is
The comment I'd like to make is that I'd like to have seen these people at some of our meetings so they know what's going on in the city government. And some of these I have seen and some I haven't. Are most of these from the strategic plan people?
Yeah, so that was where we kind of first...
Can you list, as you go through them, can we hear if they're in the strategic plan as you go through them? And then I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that if some of these people showed up at a next meeting and had anything more to add about who they are, we'd be glad to hear it, wouldn't we?
I think what key thing here is that it is not our role to make the final selection.
But
We're going to go through and make sure the council, when the council does in fact approve the committee, that we have had a chance to say, you're short, you never contacted the commission, you should have, you didn't do this, you should have. Try and get somebody into the category. I think we're making a recommendation to them as to who should be on the committee, but it's the final say is theirs.
I know that.
And the fact that people have not shown, this is not unusual, but a lot of them do have a background. We don't know that they don't watch it on TV, but this will get them going to meetings and getting interested.
I hope so. Thanks.
To answer your question 1 through 9 are folks that we reached out to from the Strategic Planning Committee.
Okay.
But to kind of give some more further information, so to keep with the timing of Cal Poly and their school year, it's very important that we kind of keep this going. But I know there's a special meeting coming up later this month, so if we needed to push until that date, I think that could be possible. But I know it is important to assemble this group and have City Council approve. So then Cal Poly is already kind of doing their initial reconnaissance to start their process. So we want to keep in mind that they're kind of already going and that the school year is there's a time element to this. So going back to the list, Bob Reed, and would be representing San Juan Star and other kind of, he's a local. Jennifer Colby, she was on that strategic planning committee and she's part of the school board, but she said that she could find someone that could represent the school board, and I need to reach out to her if that's someone or we want to have on this committee. Valerie Egeland, and she's a citizen. I know a little bit. I don't have much more than that. I know.
She does not live in town.
No. Okay. Chris Maturana. He's the Strategic Planning Advisory Committee kind of chair, leader. So I think he would be an excellent person to have on board. Shauna Friels? She's city clerk over in Gilroy, local community, and she is kind of a long-time resident, lifetime. Maggie Billich, she's an ex-city council member and represents the handicapped community. Teresa Lavanino, information I have is that she's a citizen.
Long-timer.
Long time as well. Michael Hicks, I wasn't able to find his background. I'm not sure if any of you...
Do you know Bob?
No.
Oh, because he's not. No, he is number 9.
Yeah, he was at the strategic. I was going to reach out to Chris to see what what was his affiliation, but wasn't able to get that information. Number 10, Lisette Knight. She would be representing Earthbound. She also worked previously for the county's planning department. Vince Brigantino would be representing True Leaf. Helena Kleinsmith is a local business owner. And just this evening I got a call from Michael Kelly, and he's from San Benito County Planning Department. He would be interested in joining. So going through, Mr. Chair has already kind of gone over some of the stakeholders, but just to give you an idea of the other...
Mr. Kelly will represent the county? Or?
The county planning department, yes.
That seems like it's because Lizette is also on the committee, I wonder, do we need both?
I think Lisette is kind of a double whammy because she's working out there at Earthbound, but she also has the planning background, and so she can kind of understand, I think, the overall goal of a general plan, and probably has worked on some herself.
The fact, the bottom line is it's Earthbound.
Yeah.
It's a major industrial.
I'm not questioning her. I'm more questioning whether we needed to contact Michael Kelly.
I think with Michael...
The duplication of interests and area of concerns. That's valid, yeah.
Okay.
So I would say, he currently works there, as well as they just kind of gone through a general plan update, and so we want to make sure that we're consistent between their general plan as well with what we're going to be drafting. So some of the local stakeholders could be the fire department, the mission. I had sent out a letter last week and have not heard a response. State Park, I sent a letter to the local State Park office as well as the Sacramento.
They're on vacation now.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Not the state park.
No, I think?
Not the state park.
So I have not heard back from them. The business owners, I sent an email to Kim Batista, basically saying, "Hey, send this out to your, email list."
I see that one as one of the most important ones because it's their land, the downtown, that we're going to be putting rules on, and they should be part of those who are governing should have a say in how they're governed. So, but if they send nobody, that's beyond our control.
Mhm.
And I'll leave it up to them.
So the rest of the list, I haven't reached out to because it was basically wanted to just point out that those are other important groups that will be part of the process as well, even if they're not on the committee itself, but that they would be invited to our different outreach and checkpoint key milestone meetings.
Jennifer Colby lives in Romas, doesn't she?
Yes.
And she's active with schools. I would think she could be across
But she was going to find somebody else.
to
Yeah,
do...
yep.
she's not available, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Is this membership, although it hasn't been accepted, is the membership going to be similar to the kinds of people that were in the experience of the people that were in the general plan that turned out so well the last time go around? Did you look at that list and see how
I'm not sure we
how
have
these
that list
people
probably here.
will be similar? It was right on the shelf somewhere
But I
last
think
week.
it's more important that this is today's group now. This
I
is
know
people
that.
living in today, and I think we have to deal with these are the cards that we're dealt with. Lucky that we have the strategic planning committee and these folks who are willing to serve, because they're going to be serving twice. Once for strategic and planning, they're going to put on a planning hat because the general plan guidelines are in the state from the State Office of Planning and Research. That's the Bible. That's how it's done. It's not what you think, what you like. This is how it's done. And so these folks are going to have to familiarize themselves with that. I don't know how far the strategic plan is because that's not a required document. The general plan is. And so these folks they're taking on a big job. And it's going to go way beyond the time the students are there because the students aren't going to get the whole thing done. The environmental review is going to be a second project in the full-place public hearings, and then all the people who didn't show going to catch it at the last day. So we want to keep, like we did for the sign code, keep offering, let them know, make sure they're on the mailing list to get the notices. And then we've done as much as we can to push public involvement, plus the fact Matt will go after all these different groups, trying to get them. Because some of these groups are very powerful, like the group that you belong to, very historical oriented, the
Historical Society.
the other one. 4th Street.
Oh, Native Daughters.
Native Daughters, right. Okay, somebody like that, very powerful group, and I consider them opinion leaders. So if that group has something to say, they talk to their friends and associates, word gets out, but only if they know that we want them to be part of the program. And that's probably another group to get.
Yep.
To build and perceive them, but
Mr. Chairman, what I'm kind of in the back of my mind is that the public is not aware of how good our former general plan was, and that is this one of the first times we've been on television to be able to say that that was a very well-organized general plan that has some great ideas in it, and that as this new group goes forward, they will be looking at some of the things that have made it possible for us to have San Juan as it is today because we've been following that general plan all along.
And we will be augmenting that as well as, I think Matt and I had met with some other people that, and he can kind of report that we're adding more elements to it that really accentuates San Juan's historical aspect,
at the big one, in our first public meetings, you might want to do an assessment of the document. And from a staff perspective, say, I reviewed the document, here's what I saw, here's where we are, and hit the highlights. And I think the Commissioner's correct. There was a lot of stuff that was well done. And, folks, they do a good job when they go home and that's it. I hope in our group we're going to be able to send them letters of, thank you. But at least they did their job, and they don't know whether we think we did a good job. So now staff report could include, the major points that they fought over, they came to pass. And what was the impact on today's city? Commissioner, that
That's pretty much what I was thinking, to make sure that we have a continuation of something that was good.
Well, one of the main themes that I see running through the general plan is the emphasis on pedestrian-oriented town, and I would hope that even our sign ordinance is focusing on that, so that's something that I would hope that they would continue to...
There's no question about it, because we're a tourist-based
Yeah.
economy, and pedestrian orientation, historical, and then Matt and I have met, and it's greenhouse gas emissions, and that's something we have to, sustainable community, and so those are elements of our general plan that we have to incorporate in.
Am I correct? The project, the council does get the final blessing?
Yeah, the council will appoint this committee upon your recommendation, and then it's an official, and then they're subject to the bylaws of the Brown Act and, and stuff like that.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments on this? Do you have any recommendations for names that we can give staff?
Not this time.
Try it. Okay, there being no other, now to the public. You have the right to speak and be heard on this subject. We're talking about putting together the General Plan Advisory Committee. How many volunteers do I have out there? 1, 2.
Good.
Do we have cards as speakers?
Yes, Carla.
Thank you, Carval San Juan Batista. I'd like to echo Ms. Galarte's comments. Our current general plan is really, really excellent, and I would hate to see it, get changed. Hopefully enhanced, but not changed.
If we're not attacking the general plan,
I know.
the state law requires that we update it every so many years.
I understand
So
that.
We're just doing that.
But I hope that we keep what we have and build on it, because it's really well done.
See, but that support will come from that committee also.
And then I'd like to comment on the members that have been recommended so far. It seems very limited. I would hope that there would be much better representation from the community. And I personally worked on the historic plan, and we just had, people who lived in town who weren't business owners or planners. This group, a large number of them don't even live in town. And as Ms. Galarte said, we don't see them involved, at least here at the City Council and Planning Commission levels. So I'm hoping that there will be more regular folks who live in town be involved on this committee, rather than just expert professionals.
You're correct in one thing about people who are on the committee should live in the town, because they're the ones that are paying the taxes and bills.
Well, or in the general vicinity.
When you have some of our outliers, like for instance the Earthbound. Earthbound has a significant impact on this community,
Right,
the whole
I
area.
understand that.
And so they're within us, we hope to have them in our sphere of
Right.
influence, and we want to hear them because we want their support.
Right.
So we're telling right now, if this new plan includes, you're supporting us. But for other major factors, you want them in there regardless of where they live. The business
Right.
is here and the impact is here.
I think the committee should be enhanced with more individuals. Like, have we reached out to the Mutsun Native American community? Where's the member from the Historical Society?
Valerie.
Valerie Eglund?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I like her, she's great, but,
You can see that this report went out, staff has been working on it, the council was talking about it at their last meeting when they
Right.
got the contract. This has been on TV. We can't go knocking on the door with a stormtrooper and say, hey, get to the meeting. This, I guess, is word of mouth, and just to have folks, I think they even put it in the Star. I mean, you can't get the Star
Was it?
on today.
Okay.
So it's
All
like
right.
with the sign code, as you followed with us. Many are called. We threw a party and very few people wanted to come to it. And this is what worries me here.
Are any
And
members?
That's why I was really, tight on this thing, is because I know that when it's finished and there was no citizen participation, it really isn't a document for the city.
Right. Okay. Are any members of the Planning Commission going to be part of this effort?
No, because they sit as the advisory, where the citizen advisory makes the recommendations to them, so they
So
can't be a
So
part of
they
that.
have
Can't
to
be.
See, I
pass
don't want
on.
a commissioner
Okay.
on that thing and not being able to vote on the main
Right, I
on the
understand.
project.
Okay,
But
well,
we are doing everything to get in there, and we get reports every month, even like strategic plan. We're not on, well, we have a planner commission on it, but we get reports. We would be getting regular reports, if not engaging with
Right.
that committee.
okay. I just wanted to let you know my feelings that I think the committee should be enhanced with
I'm
more
glad-
more
I'm glad you-
individuals.
I'm glad you made that public, because I'm hoping a lot of people watch it on cable and say, hey,
So how do people apply? Where do they go if they would like to be on it?
I
Come to
would
City
say
Hall.
just contact the planner at City Hall.
Uh-huh.
Matt Leal is our planner, and
Okay.
he'd be more than happy to take names, numbers, and phone numbers and get them on the email list.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have to say that I agree with Kara's comment about, well, I would just focus on number 10 and 11, both being from the same industry. I would like to see more diversity if we have the opportunity. We have enough people.
Let's get more diversity. Well, man, I think you know what you got to do. Oh, sorry, before we get back in here. Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Bob Reed, 1133 Salinas Road. I remember the presentation that Cal Poly did. They were pretty adamant that the general plan that exists would be the reference document for creating the new general plan. That there would be a new general plan created, but that the reference would be the old, and they complemented the general plan. So I'm pretty confident that will be respected. I don't think that people who have been, the list are people who have volunteered, basically. So you want to have all the stakeholders represented. In their presentation, Cal Poly talked about the importance of making sure that all those stakeholders had input. That if meetings were held and stakeholders were not there, there needed to be more meetings. Yeah, so that those stakeholders are respected. So they're thinking that way. In terms of who is actually on the committee, I'm not sure how important that is for them to be. I think it's important for stakeholders to participate, but I don't know about being on the committee. I don't know how productive that is. It may be. I'm sure that Cal Poly has some ideas about that there are strategies for that. And I'm pretty confident that they know what they're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Bob brings up a great point. I mean, for an example, I was speaking with the Council of Governments COG, Lisa Reinheimer, and her focus is transportation, circulation. So, if she was sitting on this advisory committee for all these different other elements, where her expertise and knowledge for the kind of county-wide regional transportation that San Juan would be interested in would be in that specific element. So even though she wouldn't be on the committee, she would be there during that time when it was relevant for her.
As a resource.
Yeah, exactly. So, some people, it would be good to have them there throughout the whole process, but, everyone would be notified that we would need their input on, so they would get that, an email or some kind of notice from us.
Will you be able to send a summary of the meetings to the people on the list?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some way to do that.
Because I think that would be significant, even though they didn't show, we're keeping them informed.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they respond back, but at least you're sending out, at this meeting we did this, next meeting we're going to do that. And they're going to ask you to go hold their hands and bring them out. But I think that would be one way, if it isn't that much of an effort. Every time a meeting, it's a quick summary. Key points, not all the details. I don't care who said what. I want to know what was said. You know, you're looking at this and looking at that. Who said it? Like I said, you can spend all night on an argument, take 10 pages and say nothing, but just the key points. Like some of them call them action minutes or something. And that way, nobody can say you didn't tell us, because we would say you should have been there.
These will be public meetings.
Oh, definitely. This is Brown Act country.
This is Brown Act country.
As soon as that thing is established, they're Brown Act people. So they have to watch who they talk to, the number of people they talk to within the committee.
And fill out a 706.
And every year. Hopefully not too many years.
I think, Larry, you volunteered?
Yeah, I'm a local rep. My name is Larry. I think the Planning Commission is getting to know me. My name is Larry Gerbrandt. I'm the owner of Rare Light Gallery on 3rd Street. I'm also a resident, and I would represent some of my fellow citizens at the west end of town in what's considered the new development. So I've been looking for opportunities to get more involved in the city. I've come to enjoy living here. My kids are actually moving here, so we have beginning to put down multi-generational roots here in a short period.
Okay, check with Matt, get a form, get a rap sheet, because he's going to have to submit all these to the council.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, any other speakers on this? More volunteers? Try, Matt. Okay, commissioners, other comments on this? Okay. We'll let that one go and go to the next item.
Mr. Chair, so I guess the recommendation to the City Council, we would be waiting until a later date, or?
The name that you submitted to us, well, check me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, the name that I have no problem with them. Just people who definitely want to get involved, have a background, whether they live in the city is immaterial at that point. What I would like to see, though, is more citizens come in, people who live here, just because they live in this town. I'm not looking for expertise, but the fact they live here and are going to be governed by this, they should have a say and represent whether that neighborhoods, neighborhood watch committee. That'd be a good source of people. See, we keep trying to find out where can we find an opinion leader, somebody who's going to report back. Neighborhood watch meets regularly on a different issue, but public safety is an item, an issue for the general plan. So is environmental safety, earthquakes, on the coastal highway. All these issues are going to come up and have to be addressed. So somebody from the fact that they have a big mailing list of people who attend their meetings who might be interested, but the fact that they also deal with safety in addition to being residents and being concerned with everything else, I think would be a good place to look. Any other comments? Oh, what you want to do
is make
we'll take
an action.
Given, I have no problem.
We'll take this list and we'll add anybody else that wants there, and then we will, and during the between now and the next council meeting, if people come in, we'll add that to the list, and then they will have that available for there.
So I think we've had enough discussion so that staff has an idea of what we're looking for, so that when they send names to the council, they'll have a feeling for what the planning commission is looking for, because we have to work with these folks.
So once Cal Pally gets names here, then they start their committees, and they're going to start wanting more people to get involved in it. Cal Pally's going to set up a program, right?
Well, but we do the citizens committee because the kids are from down south, they're probably all over the country, and we want people who are residents or stakeholders to meet with them and say, okay, what do you got in mind? You know, a good example, like my stepfather was a foreman on a job, and the guy's putting on a roof. My father's from here, and he says, you know, why do you have the roof so big? Oh, Mr. Frankfurt, you got to have snow load, you know. We don't have snow over here.
Right.
And so, but the thing was, the guy was a good architect, but from New York, and he had to deal with the locals. These folks from all over, they got the ideas, they got the time, they'll do the research, they need to deal with the locals.
So do we approve 6D by
Well,
taking the recommendation
My
here?
thought would be that there's nobody we want to kick off of that group.
Okay.
If there was people we didn't want on it for sure, I would tell them. And I would tell them publicly. But I have no problem with the list, and I just keep hoping we find more people from these other categories. Now, Red Cross, again, safety. Who deals with safety? Disaster preparedness? The Red Cross does. And that's another, I think that's an important one to have. Okay. There'll be no more discussion on that one. Staff team's got enough to work with.
Don't we need a motion for that to complete our 6D?
Okay, motion.
I move that we take staff recommendation that the Planning Commission assemble a group of 12 to 15 members to be part of the General Plan Advisory Committee to work with Cal Poly, attend meetings, give input, and review draft documents.
I'll second that motion.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, the next item, brewery building update. At 104 the Alameda, we have issued a permit for the brewery building to be dismantled and the new building to be put up using as much of the existing material as we can. Staff, can you tell us where we are?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, the architect was scheduled to make a presentation tonight upon your motion that to bring back the final design of the building and how he was going to incorporate the salvaged and rehabbed building material into it. He is unavailable tonight, and so he'll continue it, and he's asking for maybe a special meeting or maybe at the next November meeting. But the progress is developed. It's a little bit slower. We're down to where the structure has been removed and the components have been stored behind the existing one, and the cavity of the basement is still in its natural stage, and we're dealing with the soils engineers to remove and excavate over and above the initial cavity, because there's been some roots and infestation of the trees and stuff like that. And once that's sloped and cleaned of all of the loose organic material, then embankment material can be brought in, compacted in lifts to meet the relative compaction tests, and brought it up to grade so that the foundation could be excavated and installed. That's the sequence that's going to go on. Right now we're at the point of excavating the sidewalls and getting the cavity ready so that we can select the proper fill material, and it can be compacted and brought up to grade.
Okay, I noticed that they have not fenced that side. I went right up to the edge and looked in the hole.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the areas that we've reiterated to the thing. He has to get some type of a fencing there to keep people out of there, because it is a hazardous.
Commissioners? Any comments on this?
Apparently, the neighbors are very much in favor of something happening to the brewery, because the man across the street has repainted his building. It's just beautiful.
Yes, and he stopped by, introduced himself, and he wanted to keep the colors very similar to what it is. It's a little bit darker, kind of like our library, but the trim is going to be very natural and the same thing. It's going to be really a nice entrance to our town.
It's very, yeah, one of our gateways, new paint job on it. Building long established. It's a great.
And now our job is to make the restroom look attractive.
Amen.
Maybe we should ask him to look into it.
Maybe he'll paint that.
Okay, the architect has asked for a special meeting. The next meeting is what, within 2 weeks of that?
Yeah.
I would look at seeing it down in November agenda.
I agree.
Somebody have any thoughts?
To be sure that Dave is back.
Well, that's a good point.
Okay, and that's what I told him. I says that the commission, I told him that the commission is reluctant to have a special meeting, and that I would recommend that the regular November 4th meeting should be,
Now, he's going to have a whole set of plans this time, right?
Yeah, he's going to have...
Picture of the parking lot, everything.
We have room for all that? Let's see. Yeah, because we've been having special meetings for the last 2 years. I think that if we don't have to, I'll take a motion for the November meeting.
I'll make a motion that we,
Continue this item to.
yes, I'll make that motion.
The motion to continue the item to the November meeting, the brewery. Second? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition? Carries unanimously. Okay, sign code update. Apparently there's a special meeting on September 26th.
Would you like me to do that?
Chairperson of the Committee of the Whole will report on this for us.
Okay, we resumed our previous schedule of meeting the second and fourth Thursday. So we met last Thursday here at City Hall at 9 o'clock, and we continued until 10:45. In attendance was City Planner, I meant to start with City Manager Roger Grimsley, City Planner Matt Leal. There were all five of us planning commissioners were there. 6 members of the community. Pat wasn't there?
Okay, Pat wasn't there.
Okay, I'm sorry. There were 4 of us there, 4 planning commissioners. Yeah. There were 6 members of the community, including business owners and a long-timer, and we had an email from a business owner. And basically the driving forces behind the revision are that it's safety-driven, to protect pedestrians and mitigate liabilities to the city, and to preserve and project a historic ambiance, and to promote pedestrian orientation as stated in the general plan. And we determined the need to define the word amortization, which is used a number of times in the sign ordinance. So Ernest proposed that the following text from the Planning Commissioner's Handbook be inserted in the draft sign code glossary. So amortization will be defined as the process by which nonconforming uses and structures must be discontinued or made to conform to requirements of the current zoning ordinance at the end of a specified period of time. Do we agree that that language will work in the glossary?
Sounds like it was important to add that, so thank you.
Well, we used it, and there was a lot of questions as to whether we could legalize them, kick them out, buy them out, or amortize it. And we talked about a 5-year amortization period for non-conformities, at which time they would have to conform. So whatever is up legally, and I say legally, would be given minimum of 5 years to basically to get your money's worth out of that whatever. And at that time, either take it down or you bring it up to code.
Did you say minimum?
Oh, we said 5 years.
Yeah, we said 5 years. We didn't.
5 years. But that way, I guess, because what you don't want to deal with is a taking issue. And the amendment of the Constitution says private property cannot be taken for public use without just compensation. So we're not going to take it without just compensation. We'll give them the 5 years. That way, whatever investment they have, they can write that off in 5 years. Probably by the end of that time, the sign probably needs to be changed anyway. And so they've got, it reaches economic life. Folks put in a new one and bring it up to code that way. But ultimately, you want the entire city to be brought up to code.
We discussed the 21 concerns that had been raised by the San Juan Committee at the special meeting on July 11th, 2013, and feel that we resolved them. Tonight we'll address any last comments before we agendize the sign code at the November meeting for approval by the Planning Commission. And at that point, the sign ordinance will go to City Council.
Okay, is anybody in the public would like to speak on this matter?
Does that have a speaker card from Larry?
Yes, Chairman and members of the committee. I apologize for the fact I was not able to be at the meeting on Thursday. I was actually in South Dakota being a photographer, which also helps pay the bills. I have expressed my concern on the issue of internal signage of any sort, lighted or unlighted, not falling under city regulation. And I'm not sure if that has been resolved or what the status is, not having been at the meeting. So I was hoping to get a response back from the Planning Commission, and I have done a fairly extensive research on this topic. There's an abundance of resource material, planning material guidelines for exterior signs. There is virtually nothing on interior signs, and that's because they cannot be regulated under the Constitution. Whatever you do inside your store is covered by the First Amendment. And whether it says open, closed, or Schlitz, or Cadbury eggs, whether it's lighted or not, is not something that a city can regulate. Period. So, I mean, it's just not, and I encourage the Planning Commission to talk to the city attorney to confirm that, and I'd be curious to know what the outcome of that is.
Thank you. We discussed, all those who were present, discussed the lights, the illuminated window lighting, and the proliferation of them and the multitude of them. And we, as a group, I think we all agreed that we don't think that enhances business or the spirit of San Juan. And I don't think anyone argues with you about what goes on within the building, except for at the window.
Except that's still, the window is the dividing line between the exterior of the store and the interior of the store. So it's like the sidewalk is a division between private property and public property. Whether you...
We regulate.
Yeah, it's just, you just don't, well, but this is a constitutional issue. So I realize this is not a debate anymore.
Yeah.
It would have to become a legal matter.
I think the city attorney will probably tackle that.
I'd like to comment something on,
When he reads.
for sure, the text. We haven't been dealing with text. But the lighting is another issue. The lighting is what can be a distraction in town, and depending how strong they are, they could be a hazard to people walking or driving. So that's a safety factor. And that's one way I would look at it. Plus, we're looking for that ambience, that historical ambience for San Juan Bautista, and throughout, and historically, since that general plan after plan, has looked for the historical ambiance, preserved it, protected, defended it, and all of a sudden now we want to, in the new ordinances and the new plan revisions, we want to keep that. Because that's why people come in here, and that's why a lot of people set up their shop, because they want that ambiance, and if you destroy it, we have a problem. It's like, how much noise can be generated by a particular business downtown. So maybe people like to dance, but to the point of running all the other tenants off the block, your civil rights end at the tip of, somebody's fist there or something. This is a tough one, and like I said, it will probably be resolved by the city attorney, but at least he knows what the planning commission is and why we made that recommendation.
Will the city attorney weigh in before the code is presented?
I'm sure he gets the agendas and all the materials, and for sure before it goes to council, it will be taken up there too. Because you may not be the only one that's concerned about this, but again, all the planning commission does at that next meeting will be to approve the document that will be sent to the city council. We do not adopt, the council adopts it under the municipal code for regulating the city. So they're saying, hey guys, what should it be? And we're saying, this is what it ought to be. They can read that, and they can amend, modify, or change anything they want based on any information submitted by the public. If it's significant enough changes, they'll say, hey, planning commission, get back and work on this again. And that's what happened this time. That's how we have it.
Well, I would say violating the First Amendment is probably pretty significant.
No, you're right. It's just that, well, I can't, you're right. It's just that I feel that we can say a lot without having flashing lights and, boom booms coming out.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Well, in your window.
if you have a sign that's got all kinds of lights blazing outside and tearing up the ambiance of the neighborhood, or creating a hazard to people walking by or driving by, then we have an issue. Because they have rights to public safety also.
So will there be specific lumen recommendations, the amount of lumens that can be, I mean, they can easily be measured from however far you are from the store window, and because that would be one way of making it fair.
That's
and it would address a lot of things. The problem is specifically objecting to open signs. That's called, yeah, I mean, that's where you basically say, we're going to regulate speech. You can't do that. You can't say one word is good, another word is not. That's the fundamental issue of the First Amendment.
That's when the lighting issue comes up. No, I agree with it. We're glad to hear your comments, and they will be recorded in the minutes, no question. And when the minutes go to the city council, and they get the minutes also, they can see what the planning commission was and who made comments, because they can expect probably to hear you at the next meeting based on what you presented. So I commend you for sticking with your beliefs, and I think that's what the planning commission is for, to hear all different arguments and then make a decision based on their backgrounds and general plan what we feel is right for the city.
And we have one more time.
And your interpretation of the First Amendment.
And we have one more time, because at the next meeting on November 4th, we'll hear the public again before our action, which we haven't determined.
See, right now, this has just been an agenda item. We're just talking about it. But the next meeting, it will be a full-fledged public hearing, noticed, in the newspaper appropriately, and posted, because now we're getting down to business. This has all been, working with it, listening to people, but a full-fledged public hearing is where decisions are made.
So he has one more chance to say it again.
Well, and then again at City Council.
Yeah, and then at Council.
Yeah, let's be honest.
So if I might, what is the exact sequence? I just want to make sure I can tell.
Okay. The first Tuesday of November will be the next meeting.
November 4th.
November 4th.
No, that's not November 4th. It's November 5th.
So again, November 5th.
And what will be happening then?
Oh.
We're going to have we're looking to have a public hearing
On this.
And the brewery at the same time?
To approve the draft. In other words, the document that we've been working on, we're going to send this up to the planning to the city council. But we can't send it until we've had it noticed, posted, and all comers are allowed to come in, speak, be heard, just like tonight's for the minor subdivision. Anybody could have gotten up and spoken for or against, and we would have had to respond to for and against us, and then make a decision. But the decision was based on environmental, and then is this in favor with the general plan right on down the line. So this one will be done the same way, but everybody will get a chance to speak, for or against.
Change this.
And after that?
Then it goes to city council, and I don't know if they'll take it at their next meeting or this following meeting. I have no control over that.
Then before that, the lawyer. The lawyer will see that before the...
someplace in the process.
Yeah.
But see, the council, I don't know. They can come in. They might take a couple months to look at it. They might take it right away. Depends on them and their agendas.
A couple of other things that we talked about. We have talked about having a uniform open sign like this, and we decided that can't come from us to mandate to the merchants what to do, that the merchants need to come to us if that's what they want. So that issue is not something that we're going to pursue. And the other thing that came up is, I kind of hate to focus on individual businesses, but some of the bars have ATM signs and Corona signs and a variety of different signs that we feel may be there because of the ATM company, right, and the beer company. So we perhaps could minimize those kind of signs too. So that was another interesting point, I thought.
Okay, is there any other speakers for or against? Commissioners?
No.
Okay. Next item. Excuse me.
Excuse me, before I'm interrupting you so much tonight. I believe back on the brewery, we talked about November 4th, but our next meeting is November 5th. So whatever that.
For the record.
So we'll have both major things on November 5th so far.
If Matt gives them the wrong date, that's...
Yeah, it doesn't matter?
No, but you're
Okay.
right, no,
Okay.
it'll be the right thing. The intent was the next regular meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The sphere of influence. I've heard of it. Staff. Where are we now?
Mr. Chair, Planning Commission, we were bringing this item back to your attention because as we go through this general plan update, this is going to be one of the more important things to review and kind of have an idea collectively of what this body would like to see as far as the sphere of influence goes. Just a refresher for everyone, the sphere of influence is a planning boundary outside of an agency's legal boundary, such as the city limits line, that designates the agency's probable future boundary and service area. Factors considered in the sphere of influence review focus on the current and future land use, the current and future needs and capacity for service, and any related communities or communities of interest. So basically, looking at the map that we provided in the packet, you can see where our city boundary is, where the existing sphere of influence is, represented in yellow, and kind of what we've put together and heard from this body thus far, which is the discussion item, sphere of influence, which is the green area. And so as this general plan is going to be evolving, we want to kind of have this figured out and discussed as we go forward, so we can include that in that update.
What about what Dave commented? Did we listen to anything that Dave left? Dave Medeiros, who's not here, said clear up to Fremont Peak, I think.
Yeah. As you recall, we had discussed this on several different occasions, and we extended up to the San Francisco Retreat. We went up to the San Juan Canyon on the Salinas Grade Road. We encompassed there, and we tried to follow the existing property lines rather than cut through properties, because that was one of the disadvantages of our current general plan. It slices through property lines, and half of the property is in and half of it's out. So we wanted to follow existing property lines. And then we went north, and then we went out into 101 up to the Anzar School. And these are things that you're going to have to decide I call it as your reach, because this reflects a lot in the preparation of the general plan for your circulation as well as your land use, your safety, your noise elements, all of those mandatory requirements,
I think a lot of our concern has been, if we don't protect this area, I don't know what other agencies will do it for us.
But we still need to be concerned about not enforcement, but communication, because the county has to inform us of plans, potential plans, and that often doesn't happen. We've lost historic buildings because we weren't informed of projects.
That's one of the things that we want to reiterate with the county general plan as well as ours, is there's got to be more collaboration between the two agencies, particularly in our sphere of influence. what goes on.
Is there anything specifically in the law that says that if it's in our sphere, that the other is something more or less? Like the county?
It's a policy in our plan as well as the county's plan to cooperate with cities with development that's adjacent to them.
Okay, so if it happens again, we just send a major letter of protest.
But it's often too late, you know?
Sure.
The building is halfway gone by then.
Or water tanks appearing on our ridge line. What was that all about? Showing up above in our view.
Yeah, I was in Georgiana's dining room and I noticed on a hill a new water tank.
It's in county, agreed. It's a county issue, but I didn't know that they were really going to continue to put something on ridge lines.
They haven't pulled no permits on that yet.
Is this a new one?
I
A new
thought,
water
yeah.
tank. Maybe it's agricultural and so forth and so on.
That's
But
a 90 acres right there, this side of Canada, San Juan Road. They just bought.
Oh, I was thinking of the one that's just above.
Right.
No.
this is a small one. It looks like
Oh,
an
no.
egg.
But it is a
But I thought years ago that the county had said they weren't going to let houses build on this ridge line, but there they are, and they've been there for 25, 30 years.
This is a Salinas Grade Road? No.
It shows above our ridge line. It's only about this high, but
Well, they
it's
put a
on
water
Salinas
tank
Grade
on
Road,
there.
yes.
Talking about
They're planting trees down
front
there.
foundations on the olive trees.
I don't know.
There's a new green tank on the ridge line.
Right. And they're planting olive trees in there.
Yes, they're planting this week.
Putting
Yes.
horses
That's
in
all
there.
fine.
The county's working on it right now.
But
But shouldn't the county have let us know some of these things?
They didn't know they were doing it.
Where's this at?
On the, maybe Bob can help us. What
It's on the-
property?
It's on the Salinas Road?
Yes.
Salinas Road.
it's visible from town.
Really?
Yeah.
Visible from town?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's visible from her dining room.
Maybe not down on the flattest part of town, but as we come up toward the mission, it's there.
Well, you notice these things. When you see just rolling hills and suddenly there's a little blip, you notice something different, which is,
Are they using olive trees as a peace offering?
I don't know that you can see the trees.
No, the trees are all on
Can't see the
the
trees.
trees are all on the other slope. It's just the county is
But you're right
County.
about that. That's what this whole thing is about.
about.
You have a spirit of influence so that you can say, hey, we're concerned, and you're right, they should.
Like 2 feet would have made a difference.
How about our big water tank?
Well, I'm not
But we
too
knew about
happy
that.
and then you want to go back, how many, to the cells up there, that planning commission fought them and it didn't get anywhere, so now we have more than one cell up there.
Okay. I'll allow staff to look into it, give you a buzz. Matt, can you do that? Okay, so we've done that one. Downtown revitalization. Focus on some people. That.
Presentation.
Or we'll have Google had things. Yeah.
The last time we had a presentation, did we get it recorded? When you made the presentation about the brewery from that position, and in the beginning we didn't get some of that information on the tape. Are we able to do that because your microphone is on and all of that?
Oh,
This tape?
Or the video?
You're going to need a microphone somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Can we
You
give
two
him
used that one
can we
last
give him
time.
his mic?
Oh, that one.
Yeah, he used the mic at the
because we had some comments about the brewery that were really significant and they didn't get on the tape.
Dismantle the city hall.
Thank you, everybody. So with this, Roger and I were talking, and basically it's an opportunity to kind of look at advanced planning, just to kind of start thinking about some ideas, and with this general plan update, some things that are going to be coming up. And basically I just wanted to do this presentation for food for thought, and one of the areas that Roger said, go ahead and do whatever you wanted to do. One of the areas that I wanted to look at was the downtown, and so for me, I see there's kind of a opportunity, and the focus is on the streetscape. So with the general plan update coming, there's a complete streets AB 1358 that will have to be addressed in the circulation element. And so this is something that's new, that's going to be in this new upcoming general plan update and wasn't in the old. So this is something that we have to consider when doing the update. And I wanted to read what that was just so you all can have an idea what that is. AB 1358, on September 30th, 2008, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger signed Assembly Bill 1358, the California Complete Streets Act. The act states, in order to fulfill the commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, make the most efficient use of urban land and transportation infrastructure, and improve public health by encouraging physical activity, transportation planners must find innovative ways to reduce vehicles miles traveled, or VMT, and to shift from short trips in automobiles to biking, walking, and use of public transit. So with this complete streets, just to give you an idea, and I don't know, maybe we can you guys see back there? I mean, obviously this isn't San Juan Bautista, this is a large city, but all of the ideas and themes are here. So in the top view you can see how it's kind of a barren street, not very many people walking around, and below you can see the changes. Just to point out a few, the sidewalks are not striped. They actually have a texture, kind of brick lay, so when cars do drive over them, it's something that they can feel, and it also visually is more clear than a sidewalk crossing striped white. As well, you can see there's kind of more sidewalk that's been added in comparison up here on either side, which gives the pedestrian less of a distance to cross. And I can share more pictures of that later in the presentation. You can see there's an addition of kind of some landscapes and some street trees, which can provide shade and also have ambiance with that as well. Some of the other things, small details, you can see there's a sign up here which is kind of auto oriented. The sign is lower, just kind of be more for pedestrians, as well as there's kind of more seating, biking. There's more folks out and about because it's a facility that is created for the complete street. So not only the auto, but the bus, the walking, the biking, all those things. So how does this apply to San Juan Bautista? Well, as I said, for the general plan update, complete streets is going to be something that's going to be incorporated, and it's up to us to figure out what are those things are we going to include in there for San Juan Bautista, since it is going to be a mandated thing by the state. And then the opportunity is funding for projects. And so, when I was working in Santa Cruz for the Regional Transportation Commission, they had projects that were ranked and graded basically if they had these, they considered all modes of transportation as opposed to just being auto-oriented. So did they provide bike lanes? Were there proper sidewalk connections and things like that? So there's opportunities for funding, and as well, people being able to feel safe in their community by having proper sidewalks to walk on. So you're giving those people opportunities to walk and feel safe, and so there's that benefit as well as economic benefits that I can talk about. So the opportunities to me, looking at 3rd Street, so first would be traffic calming. So this is just an image, and all of this is just kind of ideas that I just want to share. You can see there's kind of a street median, and as you come into downtown, whether it be from the Alameda and from the Windmill Market, or the Gateway from Monterey Street, these are some wider corridors, and so a median is kind of a nice way to let you know that you're coming into a downtown or into a community, and kind of restricting some space and giving some visual things to see. It naturally slows down cars and lets you know that you're coming to a pedestrian place, as well as you can kind of create at certain areas safe islands for pedestrian crossing. And then there's also opportunities for city welcome signs and things of that nature. This diagram just kind of shows the bulb outs, and so you can see here in yellow, this is where the existing sidewalk was, and so there's opportunities to kind of add more street furniture, whether it be benches, trees, giving the pedestrian a lesser walk across the street, and it just kind of creates some safety opportunities, as well as opportunities to make the street more friendly for pedestrians. And that's a bulb out, and they can be used in different ways, as shown there. So this is just kind of showing the opportunities for wider sidewalks. So with a wider sidewalk, you can have cafes like we have in San Juan Bautista downtown, where their seats and tables are up against the building. It's really tight, but in this there's opportunities for the cafe to have a lot more ample space, as well as having that element of bicycles and places for people to lock their bikes. So there is that active transportation and health side of having the wider sidewalks. So here's another opportunity where it's kind of more of an inviting place, and people driving by slow down and they want to see, oh, there's a lot of people out there, and want to check out the restaurant. And so you create these opportunities with wider sidewalk. And even if you don't have the widest of sidewalks, there's still ways to incorporate outside dining, and is a opportunity there. This is called a parklet. It's kind of been used in some cases where widening sidewalks might be too costly, or different other constraints. And so what this does is basically take up a few parking spaces and can create a space where you don't have to add too much infrastructure, but that little island there. And depending, it could be, it can hold a cafe, tables, or just be an area for people to congregate. And I guess there's opportunities for increasing parking. So currently in downtown we have the parallel parking. So here there's 4 spaces, whereas there's opportunities to possibly do parallel parking, so you can move up to 6 spaces in that same amount of space, and on so 8 to I think 9 or 10. And so the streetscape would have to be modified in such a way, but this is also opportunities to add more parking in downtown, since that really is important. And as well, you're able to gain safety. There's a safety aspect, so if you drive in, pull in, and your kids are getting out both sides of the vehicle, it's going to be a lot safer than them entering the traffic side, so there's a safety element to that as well. So active transportation, there's a lot of promoting of safe routes to school. There's a lot of different ways to promote active transportation, and a lot of it has to do with the infrastructure that's there, and people feeling safe in it and understanding that they can be there. And so there's a lot of opportunities in San Juan Bautista, and with the general plan update, we're going to be able to investigate those. And so this is a picture of our downtown, and to me it's beautiful, but also that it's really auto oriented, and so I know there's opportunities to make it even more pedestrian friendly than it is, and so I kind of did a really rough job of photoshopping in some of the different things, but bear with me on it. But you can see how you add a little bit of sidewalk, you're able to have some street cafes and things like that. You're able to include even just the striping Shero, so that lets bicycles know that they can share the road. Some textured crosswalks, and the bulb outs to make it even safer for pedestrians to cross. So there's definitely opportunities for San Juan Bautista, and whatever those might be, we'll be investigating with this general plan update. So just wanted to give you this for food for thought, but that this will be coming up. Thank you.
I have a comment, and I think Matt and I have talked about it. I just got back from Europe and Amsterdam and Bergen, Stavanger, and Oslo, Norway, and these are all pedestrian-oriented communities. Like Amsterdam, it's over 600,000 bicycles. I think they're everywhere, and even the bicycles have their own right-of-way and stop signs and controls, and there's pedestrian walkways as well as the vehicles. And it's well managed, and it's just amazing how you can get around very effectively on bicycles without the load of fossil fuel.
I like the idea of parklets. My daughter lives in San Francisco, and they have them all over. It really creates a community, and it invites people to be outdoors, and we have great weather, and we really can't utilize it. But I think we need to encourage our property owners to develop the back of the 3rd Street building so that people can park out there, have decks out there.
And Mariposa people?
Yeah.
We have parkings. We have so much space,
Yeah.
and we don't have stakeholders agreeing with
Interested
us
in.
about parking. It's really a
I'm
crap.
sure it would enhance the businesses.
I think the windmill offers park and ride to people, and it surely is not as crowded in the shops as the parking indicates down there, and he's been donating his space to park and ride.
I wrote
I
a
think-
letter to Mrs. Liu, about that lot across from the Native Daughters, asked if she was willing to lease it to the city and develop a parking lot. She wasn't interested this time.
I know, Pat?
We're going to keep asking her, whether that was a perfect
Yeah.
example of some off-street parking, and then between the rock shop and the back of the parking lot, you could make that kind of a causeway and get right out into 3rd Street.
Yeah.
Have we made any progress with this church or the state park with using the orchard? Not for parking, but to include that in the ambience of downtown would be just like a miracle happening.
Well, when we have street events, people have to sit in the curbs and gutters to
They
eat.
sit in the gutters.
Yes.
Well, again, the general plan team, the advisory committee is going to have some interesting thoughts to think about and come up with supportive evidence for a push in a particular direction. But see, Now we're talking about 15 different people, if they choose to move that way, bringing up an item like parking. Not just from one side. Now we have the other side, the people being regulated, saying, hey, we need. See, variances are pieces of paper. Parking spaces are the ones where you need to have business customers. Okay. Any other items on that? Anybody from the public want to speak on that last item? Okay. Future agenda items.
Brewery?
We got the brewery, get the sign.
That should probably do it.
There'll probably be a general plan, something or other, but I would just put a...
We probably should have something on agenda automatically, so
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
can bring
exactly.
something up.
General plan update is going to be on every agenda for the
Yeah.
next 6 months.
What about Harvey's lockup? What's happening on that?
Well-
And we're going to put that on the agenda.
Yep.
Okay, that was the one I got. To support that, right across the street, we're going to hit that gap for curb, gutters, sidewalk, handicap ramp, etc., and we're going to clean up that whole neighborhood. What I want to do next meeting, and with your support, review the use permit conditions.
So then they should have it for us.
It'll be an agenda item. Then, if there's no movement, set a public hearing for revocation of the permit. And only for the backing, because once you commit, you got to go all the way.
And then
So the bottom line is, because everybody who is, I see it as a complete economic advantage over everybody else if you don't have to follow the rules, make your own. So I see that staff has been on their case and they just haven't been responding enough. So the next level is the Planning Commission. And if we revoke the permit, he has the right to appeal to the City Council. Our comments will be there also. But I mean, the thing is that you got to start someplace, and I'm saying let's item review of use permit such and such to Harvey's lockup, etc. And we'll just see what happens. If he's not there, automatic move for the revocation hearing.
And does that include the other?
That just includes this one use. It's a use permit.
Just one, we're just going to do one at a time?
Well, right now I'm only because of what's happening across the street, cleaning up that lot, curb gutter sidewalk. It's going to be an expensive process. I mean, why not just split the lot and sell them off and say, hey, by the way, they might hit you with conditions? No. So my thought is, with your support, we'll put that on the agenda. Consensus? Okay.
Yes.
And like I said, the applicant, the permit holder, Matt, make sure he gets a letter, registered mail, so that he knows if he's not here, it will be an automatic. And we're going to clean this town up if it's one permit at a time.
Then the other one was, what's happening with 3rd Street development when we're passed? Housing development.
They're having a hard time getting a contractor to develop it at that density. And
They're trying to sell it out.
Yeah, and most of the contractors have come back and said that they would, in rural San Juan Bautista, they feel that it's more marketable just to have buildings with more side yard and more front yard setbacks than zero-line setbacks. So they're really thinking about submitting a revised map here and lowering the density.
Good.
For single-family dwellings on individual lots?
Because the developers, they're willing to put their money down, but they're looking at to say, what's the potential to market these and sell them? And everything leads to is like a little bit more open space.
They have to come back to us for the whole thing, is that right?
Yeah, they have to come back with a new tentative map. But the existing zero-line setback might be very, very attractive in metropolitan areas where land is not so abundant and,
we told them.
and higher densities in population.
Then,
But in rural San Juan, it just didn't fit.
then the other one we passed was that changing the apartments into condos. What's happening with that thing? It's getting pretty close to the deadline, isn't it?
Yeah, they're still working with the HUD and the department. Matt and I have given letters back and forth to Washington, D.C., showing the zoning and the permits. And so they're still working through the morales of financing.
That may slow up too, based on no government. I tell you, the people who went from foreign countries, who went to Pinnacles today,
Yeah.
and it was closed,
Yeah.
I feel sorry for them.
Well, people came from across the country to go to Alcatraz, too.
Oh, Alcatraz, yeah, that too.
Not to mention my son who works for NASA
Oh, jeez.
on furlough.
Oh, and I know the feeling because I was up in Idaho, and I went to the Nez Perce National Park there, and after I'd walked through the whole battlefield with my dog, I said, I'm going to go to the visitor center. Great big sign, closed due to lack of federal budget. I was one unhappy camper.
Except not all the government shut down.
Okay.
Another future agenda item, I'm wondering, in the minutes we just approved, there was a discussion about an overlay district for the historical in order to make bank financing understand that.
Yeah, and that is going to be part of our general plan.
Yeah, I think that's the best
Okay.
place. Because it'll be integrated in the whole document, not just with
We don't want to
freestanding.
lose track of that.
No. This formula business ordinance, we're going to pursue that, or how did the council do
We
it?
have it, and we're drafting a new resolution to, ordinance to take it over there, you know.
So you put it on when it's ready?
Yes.
No problem.
We've got it, we've edited and done several versions of it and everything. Still get the intent is that we really don't want big box people in there. We really want to invite people to come in and talk to us, and if it doesn't fit our architectural standard, we don't put it. And I think that's the main emphasis.
See, and that's critical for you to have a set of standards that are written, not being made up as he goes along.
Yeah.
Say, hey guys, this is what our planning commission said. You go tell them you don't have to do this. Yeah. Okay. Any other items? Commissioner comments?
I have one.
I'll listen.
On October 12th, the Historical Society and the Library Auxiliary and the city are having an open house at Luck Park, and it's a big fundraiser. Roger will be barbecuing with the crew, and we're trying to raise funds for Luck Park. If you've been down that way, you've seen a lot of work being done. They've been working on power washing the buildings and re-stuccoing and painting now. And then there'll be walkways to make the buildings more accessible. So any funds that we raise are going to go to the city. Any checks that you might want to send to the city in care of Luck Park Fund. And we've invited city organizations to participate by setting up a table, showcasing what they do, and hoping that they also will contribute to this fund. It's been since 1979, I think, that the buildings have been in place, right? And it's been long overdue for a makeover. So we're happy, thank you, and we hope everybody will come out.
Okay. Other comments? Staff?
I have something just to update you with the general plan update. The Cal Poly students are going to be coming out this weekend, starting actually Friday. They're going to be coming out, I think, a group of 6 at noon. They're going to be kind of walking around the community and doing their kind of inventory. So if you run into them, you can say hi and meet
When
some of them.
did you say?
It would be Friday
Okay.
at noon. I think they're going to come by the office and get to meet staff, and then they will have their direction and they'll just go out. As well as on Saturday morning, about 10 or 11, there'll be the remaining group, which is about 11 students, and they'll be also doing this inventory of just kind of the current land use and for each parcel by parcel. And so they've kind of broken up the city, so you'll see students walking around with probably clipboards or whatever.
They'll look like students.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's going to be an opportunity for staff to meet them as well and get familiar with each of them, because they'll be breaking up the general plan, so they can get it
Will
done.
be 2 different teams, or?
I'm not exactly sure. I know, like I said, Friday there'll be a group, and Saturday, and I'm not sure if they're different groups or how they're broken up exactly. I know that they were taking the city, kind of breaking it up into thirds, and I'm not sure if those groups will be staying together or what exactly, but I know that they'll be here doing inventory.
Okay, thank you. Have you received comments from Saturday at downtown noise levels?
Yeah, we have.
This was I came through, and I was up on 2nd Street heading to wherever. Yeah, pay my water bill, and I could hear that all the way up there. Anybody next to or across would be just blasted out. Now, this is something we need to deal with. The noise element, there must be parts in there, or else we're just going to have to determine what is unhealthy noise for downtown. Because that was above and beyond.
Matt and I had worked on a draft of a noise element and everything to address that there.
Ordinance.
In an ordinance. And it's,
Is there anything we've got now that we can use?
no, we can't
Oh, man,
hang
that's...
a hat on anything now. But it is distracting and it's
detrimental to business.
Dissident to the pedestrian atmosphere that we're trying to foster.
The noise is terrible.
Okay. Well, it's...
What kind of noise?
Well, I don't know if it was rock and roll or country or what kind of music.
Music,
but
it was?
What?
Music.
Oh, yeah, but it was loud.
Music and everything.
From 3rd Street? From a business or a residence? Or?
Daisy's, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was loud.
And then there was a gunshot
Yes.
fired off too.
Yes, shot. 5 of them.
Yeah.
Whoa, hang your guns up at the door.
It would be informative if on the city council agenda, when there is a street closure, if it were described in the agenda, like such and such is a run, or such and such is a this or that.
Well, I thought the last one that I did, when I explained it, I says, I want you to route down 2nd Street to San Juan, to San Jose, to 1st Street, and I announced it on the TV, so that's the best I could do.
Yes, but if it were on the agenda that it was a race, or this or that, or who the sponsor of it is, then we would be more aware of what's going on in town when the agenda is published. It would give publicity to them, I think. Be helpful publicity.
Well, that would also tell people who don't want to mess with that stuff, I'm going to stay home.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt. Well, it's hurting downtown business. Just what I saw, just what I heard. I mean, the bottom line was, I got no problem. I like music. I like to dance. That was above and beyond when you can hear it 2 blocks away behind buildings.
The race went very well, I think, this time.
Yeah. It came up with us.
And then Vertigo was in the evening, so they had a whole entire day going on here in San Juan.
I forgot about that. Okay. Are there any other comments for or against?
One more comment.
Okay.
I'd like to tell Roger that they're doing a nice job painting the library down there.
Yeah.
And the firehouse looking good.
Will it be the same color? Will the city hall and the fire department and the library all be the same?
No,
Okay.
we're going to keep the library, the firehouse and the city hall
The same, and different from that.
Yeah, we worked on this wall today.
I see that. That's nice.
Wow, that'd be good. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Town's cleaning up.
Little steps.
It all adds up. Okay, I'll call for motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. It is 7:47. How do we do?